everybody, welcome to the Comic Guy Movie Show. My name's Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk about the Helstrom trailer that was released yesterday at Comic-Con at Home. There's a lot of trailers releasing for Comic-Con at Home right now, and I'm picking out the ones I want to talk about. And I want to talk about this trailer because I have good news and bad news. First of all, Helstrom, if you haven't heard, is pretty much was announced alongside with Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider. Same actor, Gabriel Luna, was going to come back and play him in from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That version of Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, was going to come back and play him on a Hulu series. And that got canceled right around the same exact time Kevin Feige took over everything. Now, we've talked about this before. Kevin Feige now is the head chief of creative and pretty much the head honcho of everything Marvel. The books, the animations, the cartoon shows, the TV shows, the movies. All of it happens underneath Kevin Feige. Now obviously Kevin Feige doesn't make all the decisions. There are people below him who make the decisions. Just like how Kevin Feige technically isn't the, Alan Horn is the chief creative of all all Disney movies, and that includes Star Wars and Marvel. So theoretically, if Horn wanted to, he could demand Kevin Feige to do something, and Kevin would have to do it. But they don't do that because Kevin Feige can handle his business. So it works the same way for Feige. So even though Feige does technically run all of Marvel television and Marvel comic books and Marvel video games and all of these different things, he's not in the room. He's not in the room all the time. There are people who you talk to who make those decisions, who he trusts to make those decisions. And, if something goes really bad, maybe he'll intervene. But, as of right now, we really don't know his full plans. Right now, we know that the Disney Plus shows are coming, and those will be directly, attached to the MCU. Though all the Disney Plus shows on the are gonna all be directly in the MCU, take place in the MCU. They will have $100 to $200 million budgets, which are massive budgets. You're talking $25 million in episode budgets. For context, the highest budgeted TV shows, as the date was Game of Thrones last couple seasons, which were about $15 million an episode. The Marvel Disney Plus shows will be $25 million an episode. And to even put that more in context, technically The Mandalorian was about $14 million an episode. So I'm just trying to give you guys a nice context of mindset. Whatever you saw, if you thought The Mandalorian looked great for a television show, add extra $10 million to each episode, and now we're talking what the Marvel shows are going to look like. They're going to look like movies. They're going to legit look like long story movies with big actors, and like I said, it's been said many times before, but even the way it's shot, as Anthony Mackie has come out and said that we shot it like a movie, and a lot of the TV people didn't really know were unsure, weren't really sure about what they were doing. Not like that they weren't sure what they were doing. It was like they were unfamiliar. They were just like, this is different because this doesn't feel like we're used to shooting movies, and it's like, this is totally different. So the way they shot it was like a movie. But I say all this to come back to Helstrom, to let you guys know that Helstrom is the last gasp of the old Jeff Loeb era. The Daredevil, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Cloak and Dagger, Runaways era of Marvel television. Of Marvel television just being television and being these really finite budgets. It's not really hard pressed to say that basically Marvel TV. The Marvel TV has been really done cheaply. It's been done cheaply because, Marvel never really put a lot of money behind it. The most expensive TV shows were the Netflix shows, and even they weren't even half as expensive as what the Disney Plus shows will be. Like Daredevil was, I don't even know if Daredevil was $100 million. I don't think it was. I think Daredevil might have been $50 million or something like that. But it was not very expensive. But it wasn't it's expensive for a television show. But for what the MCU wants to do and the place they want to push it, those shows, most of those shows were done very cheaply. Obviously, you can tell by the way that they have to be creative around it. In Jessica Jones' show, they could never show her actually leaping high because they couldn't afford to CGI to make her leap high. When she does something strong, they could never have her do something insane because they couldn't afford to have her do anything insane. Same thing with Luke, like Luke Cage. They had to have him lifting and grabbing things that were like, that were easier to shot, like catching a post or stopping a car. They couldn't have them picking up a car and throwing it. You know, they couldn't do things like that. Iron Fist. Obviously, Iron Fist showed that off. Punisher might have been the more simplest one to do since he was just a gun-wielding man, but there was only so much you can do. Case in point, I'll never forget, in Daredevil Season 2, and I enjoyed the hell out of Daredevil Season 2. I liked it a lot more than some other people did. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I gave it like a 9 at the time. But I will admit, one of the things looking back at it that was so like such a problem with the fact that like Loeb wasn't really putting any money in these shows, and perhaps that was somebody else, and perhaps it's because he's working with Ike Perlmutter, who's notoriously cheap, and I've talked about him many times before. He's a fucking bastard. He's been pretty much holding Marvel back this entire time. We were supposed to already have Captain Marvel. We were supposed to already have the Wasp. Black Panther was supposed to have been greenlit quicker than what it was. Captain Marvel was supposed to be greenlit quicker than what it was. Hela was supposed to be the villain of Thor, the Dark World. Kathleen Kennedy was supposed to be the director of Thor, the Dark World. And all those problems stem back from the same man, which is Ike Perlmutter. And Ike Perlmutter still, for a long time, was hovering over Marvel television. So Marvel TV was stuck underneath Ike, and they couldn't do anything. And Ike wanted to do things cheaply. That's how you end up with a show like The Inhumans. And the way that it was terribly executed is because he wanted to do things cheaply. And that's kind of always been the one thing holding Marvel television back, is that it's all been done cheaply. Some of it is executed greatly. But as I was saying, I never get over that scene near the end of Daredevil where you see tons of ninjas on the rooftops, and it looks like it's gonna be like 30, 40 ninjas on this rooftop, and they're gonna have to fight their way through all these ninjas to get to Nobu. But that's not how that went down. By the time they got to the rooftop, it was like 10 ninjas in Nobu, and it was still a cool fight, but it was not as cool as you kind of thought it was going to be. And it's clear as day that they couldn't afford to have that kind of a fight sequence, to have that many ninjas on that rooftop, to have that kind of fight sequence that it felt like you should have. Like when you hear about when the Hand shows up in any comic book issue, there are legions of ninjas. It's not one, it's not 10, it's not a couple. It is a shit ton of ninjas, man. Like they come in huge groups. They come in waves when the Hand shows up. It's like when Hydra shows up. They come in waves. It's not just a couple of them. It's like a shit ton of them. And you could tell, right, they couldn't afford to have any more. That happens multiple times throughout the shows. And like that was the one thing that held the Defenders back, is that it was done too cheaply. So Helstrom is the final nail in the coffin. After Helstrom, there'll be a MODOK animated series created by Patton Oswalt. That will be the last thing that will be the absolute last thing Jeff Loeb ever helped create. Other than that, we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. playing out its final season that should wrap up before Helstrom comes out, unless they decide to take a break and like come back, which I don't think so, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not getting 20-something episodes anymore. They're getting like 13 or something like that. So they should wrap up before Helstrom comes out in October. Helstrom's coming out on October 16th because they announced that along with the trailer. Now, to get into the trailer itself, and I'm sorry if it feels like I've been going on about Marvel television and the things around the trailer without talking about it. I actually don't think the trailer is that bad. You know, it's very mysterious. It's very, you know what? It's very, what the fuck? It's very Conjuring. You know, you feel like it feels like you're watching a Conjuring, a trailer for The Conjuring, and Helstrom. Well, he's called Helstrom, but like, you know, and the two main characters, the brother and sister, are kind of like the Warrens, but they have this crazy mom who clearly is into some demonic shit, and clearly they're into some demonic shit. Helstrom is a character in Marvel that I'm not that versed on. I know that he's the son of he's the offspring of a woman and the devil, which could be Mephisto, but I'm not sure. Marvel's kind of weird with that shit. And he has, you know, hellish powers, and he has this, you know, he has this symbol on his chest, and he's usually got his shirt off, and he's got the powers of hell at his disposal, and he uses it for good. You know, it's a classic, you know, I have a dark like, it's a classic, I was born in darkness, but I am not dark myself, but I am a better man myself classics tale. But it seems like they're doing this thing with the sister and the brother, where the brother is like this exorcist, and he goes around saving people because he's talented at it, but he doesn't quite know why he's talented at it, and the sister's doing something as well. The mother's in an insane asylum, and, you know, like, they ask the mother, what have you unleashed? And it's like, you know, it seems that, like I say, it plays like a horror, it plays like a very interesting horror show. It plays like a very interesting horror show that I would pick up and read, like, I would watch. And I think I would watch it. It doesn't look bad to me. It looks okay. It looks okay and intriguing, you know? Like, and it would kind of shock me that I was like, you know what? This looks pretty intriguing. It doesn't look like anything Marvel has done. And, like, I'm not even talking about Marvel MCU. I'm talking about, like, just Marvel. And, like, looking at that, I was like, yeah. And not to, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that there is no Marvel logo even on the trailer. It's almost as if Marvel itself is taking no ownership for this. They're like, look, that's something else, good or bad, that's its own thing. We're not touching that. That's over there. And I will admit, I'm not looking for, I kind of hope, there is a part of me, I'm going to watch the show and give it a fair shake. Comes out October 16th. I'll give it a fair shake. But there is this part of me that really hopes it sucks. Because if it's good, I just really don't feel like having to argue with another community of people trying to go, you should put it in the MCU. It's like, do you want it or do you not? Or, like, what do you want, man? What do you want from us? Like, it's like, there's going to be a whole tangent of people screaming at Marvel about putting Helstrom in the MCU. You guys are cowards. You won't put Helstrom in the MCU. Put him in the MCU. He could be in the MCU. Like, you know that's going to happen. Just like it is with Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all the Netflix shows. And like I've always said, I'm arguing with people. I'm like, dude, if you want those shows, then you have to accept that if you got them, they won't be in the MCU. And I'm like, if you can accept that, we're cool. We can get what we want. But you guys want to have your cake and eat it too. You guys want to have it and have it in the MCU. And you know that's not what they're about and not what they want to do. But you want to change what they're about and want to do just for your own selfish desires. No. If this show works out, it might still be canceled. If it works, if it's a huge hit and everyone's talking about it, like if it's Handmaid's Tale, you know, level, everyone talking about it, maybe it'll get a second season. But it ain't coming to the MCU, and if it just does, it's canceled. This show, the only way this show can be saved is if it gets phenomenal reviews and it is fantastically received. That's the only way this show can survive. And even then, it's still going to be in its own side universe, and they're not going to let that shit come to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, I enjoyed the trailer. I thought it looked interesting, but it's either going to be it's either the only way this show's not going to get canceled is if it just blows up. Thank you guys for watching the Comic Game Movie Show. Please leave a like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.